Gotcha! Gotcha! Just what I needed! Lucky me! Oh!